down, Gemini. Hi everyone. Well, today is the 22nd January 24. And this week the weather is a lot better than it has been, especially today. Last week we had snow, ice, wind. Even last night we had gale force winds. Still a bit blustery today, to be honest, but nothing like it has been. I've just picked Gemini up, now going back to mine. And the plan is to see if I can get the bumper back on. So, as you know, the bumper had fallen off, and I was toying whether to put that one back or whether to put the original back or whether to just leave them off. I decided I want to put the bumper back on, but the weather has just been rubbish, too cold and wet to do anything. But this moment in time, as long as it don't start raining, I think I might have a chance of getting it back. I've got to work out some way of putting it back on. Because I don't think the way it was fitted on is going to be a good idea. I'll show you that in a bit. So I'll come up with some different way. George has been running fine ever since the flat battery issue, where I left my little fan heater on. But it's been fine since then. Now I must just mention at this point, some people have said, why didn't I use the starting handle? I have said this before, I've tried to start George with a starting handle even when it's been started before and it's warmed up, and he just wouldn't have it. If you notice, whenever I fire George up, he needs to wear over a bit before he'll fire. Once he's started, he's fine. He ticks over fine, he drives fine, absolutely perfect. Can't wish for a better driving car, to be honest. It's just that initial start. He never has done, as far as I can remember, since I owned him before. But I did notice that the guy who had it between me owning it and getting it back had changed the carburetor. Whether he tried to get it to start better. It's not a problem starting, it just needs to fire over a couple of times before it goes. I was going to have a look at the timing, but as you saw before, the timing mark had been mullered and that's actually missing now. So later on, when I get a bit of spare time, I'll put a new timing mark somewhere, probably on the top instead of at the bottom, and we'll just check that timing. But like I say, it's not a problem. George always starts, apart from the flat battery. I think what I need to do is adjust the valves and then do the timing. Maybe adjust the carburetor. We'll try and get him spot on, and then it might fire up with the stick, with the handle. But we will see on that one. But one thing I will do before I alter any of the timing is mark up exactly where it is now, because there's just no issues with running. You don't overheat, it pulls like a train, and everything's good. So I'm a bit reluctant to alter it anyway. He has got an electronic ignition. So it's nothing to do with points. So I might have a look at that later, but that's not priority because as far as I'm concerned he's running fine. So today my aim is try and get the bumper back on. Gemini? You know you're nearly back, don't you? She knows when she's nearly home, she starts standing up and looking. Hey, I know where I am. Right, so we're back now. She's got a couple of bits and pieces to do, and then I'll sort out getting this bumper back on George. See you in a bit. So there it is, guys. There's a little bumper. What was made up obviously just sat across the back there and was okay. And if you can see how that was done, it's kind of a groove cut in, and then that was slipped over that nut and then tightened up. Same on this side. But obviously it fell off. I know I did hit it in the back of the garage a couple of times when I backed in, but I'm not convinced that that is going to be very good to put that back on like that. I'll try and think of a better way. The metal's not that thick, although if it's done up nice and tight, you'd think that would hold it. But obviously it didn't. And I can't afford for that to fall off in the road when I'm driving down, and then a motorbike or push bike or even a car hits it behind me. Don't know what was going on here. It looks like it's been ground and cut and welded a little bit there, but nowhere else. It's all a bit strange what was going on there. Obviously I tightened these up so they didn't fall off. A bit rusty, but hey ho. When I had this car before, I didn't even have these brackets. I took them off, threw them away, filled the holes, because I had a clean look with no bumper. I have got the original bumper, and that'll be somewhere in the roof of this garage. But I mean, I'll have to get the bus out to get that down, and I don't mind this bumper once it's on. It looks okay, so I'm going to see if I can get it back on. Just having a little think now of a different way I can put that on. I know there's probably hundreds of ways it can go on. The way it was on, I'm not 100% convinced that that's safe. So I'm going to try and think of a better way. Give us a couple of minutes and I'll see what I can come up with. So I've just slotted that back on how it was. As you can see, because it's on an angle, when it's tightened up, in theory it should have worked, but and it did for a little while, but like I said, I'm not convinced that is going to stay like that. That's why I need to come up with something different. Okay guys, take a look at this. You know when you buy Chinese cheap furniture and stuff, you get little spanners with it. Well, these spanners came with some climbing frames we bought where I work. They did the job for putting it together, and every box I opened had a spanner, so there's quite a few of these lying about. They're not anything special. I wouldn't really want to keep them in my toolbox for nothing, but I chucked them in the boot of the car because I thought I could use them for something. And now I've got an idea. I might be able to bend these around and just weld them to this to catch this bumper on. A bit ratty look, isn't it? But George is a rat moggy, so they'd be fine. See if I can bend them. Now I'm not sure whether they'll bend. I'm not sure whether they'll just bend or whether they'll just snap. So without trying, we don't know. So I'm going to try and bend them round like this to this, and then if they'll meet up nicely on this metal part, I'm going to weld them on, and then I can bolt them on nice and secure. That's my plan. Right, let's see what I can do with bending them. Right, I can't get too much in the garage with the bus in here. I've got a voice over that side, but I'll see if I can do it in this one. I'm not sure whether they're going to snap, but we will see. What were they? A 19 and a 17. Well, can't do any harm, can it? Right, so I'll get that in the vise. Like so. Will it bend or will it snap? Well, as we kind of knew really, the spanner snapped. It's obviously cast. No bend in that at all. I have had spanners you can bend, maybe a bit of heat or something, but as you can see, that's a brittle spanner by the looks. Wouldn't have lasted long anyway, but that's what you get cheap. So now what am I going to do? I think, well, I've decided to go with two washers, a bigger washer on the inside. I'm now going to tighten it up and see what happens. I'm not 100% sure until I tighten it right up, and I'm going to try and lift the car with it and see whether I think that'll be okay. Obviously you wouldn't tie nothing on it to tow it or anything. It's either that or the original bumper might be going back. Let's see what happens when I tighten it up, whether that will hold it on. You never know your luck. Well, I didn't think I'd end up doing it this way, but it's actually gone back on more or less how it was before. As you can see, that ain't coming off. Can practically lift the car up with it. As I keep an eye on it, I think I'll be alright. But me being me, I like to be double sure. I think what I'm going to do is just grab my welder and weld a little bit of weld each side of this washer to this old bumper, and that way there's no way it can come off. Same this side. I think I'll do that now, and then that way that's not going to work loose and come off. Even if the nut came undone a bit, that'd be loose, but it won't fall off because the washer's right round the thread. Ain't got to look pretty, has it? Just notice there's a hole in it here, look. So it's obviously chromed steel. Don't know how it's going to weld, but we'll find out in a second. See if I can dig the welder out. Guys, my welder is stuck in there beside the bus I could move George, get the bus out, get the welder out, blah de blah, but I've got another plan. I've got two welders there. I've got the gasless MIG, and I've also got my stick and TIG welder, which is going to be awkward to get. But up here I've got my trusty old stick welder. I used to use this all the time for repairing motors, so I'm going to drag that out this door and see if we can get a good tack on it, just to stop those washers from moving. Just hope it still works. I haven't used it for a few years now. I've got it out. Just have a quick look at the cables before doing anything, because like I say, I haven't used this for a long time. It's the electrode holder, that looks alright. Obviously that's the plug, that looks okay. Look at the earth clamp, that's seen better days, isn't it? Still, that should still work, as long as the welder will fire up. Right, I'm gonna get the electric on the plug socket. We'll get it plugged in and we'll just check it still works before we do anything. Well, we've got the power on, we've plugged it in, let's see what happens. Well, that's buzzing away like it should. Just find the electrode, give it a little rub with a wire brush or something, and we'll just see if we can tack this washer to this. And also, even if it's welded to this bumper, I know it'll go rusty, but I don't care. As I said before, adds to the look. But not only that, then if I want to take off, I'll still be able to undo the nut at the back, and it should slide off with a washer welded to this. And in case I need it off and I can't get it off, can always get the grinder out, can't we? No need to worry. Right, let's find a stick and wire brush and get that tacked on. Some electrodes, it's in better days, look. Got a bit of gunk on them. I think they're a little bit damp, so whether these are going to work or not. Also, when they're damp, you should watch out for electric shocks. I've had them before. It's not nice. They'll stick to you. Right, so yeah, they're 2.5, so they'll do for this job as long as they work. And also something interesting, I normally disconnect my battery, but I've just found this up. I don't know what happened to this. I thought we'd lost it. I've just found it. You connect it to the battery and the little light will come on, and what that'll do, you can weld on your car and it shouldn't ruin your battery. That's the idea. Save taking the battery off, just chuck it on negative and positive and everything should be good. Right, let's whack that on so that'll protect it. So we'll whip up the old bonnet, take these off. These are just for that fan I was telling you about. Not a lot of cop, is it? Right, one on the positive, one on the negative, if I can get it on. See, the little green light is to say it's on correctly, and that should stop that getting a power surge when we strike the welder up. Saves just taking battery terminals off, although it don't really take long, it's just for quickness. Just chuck it on and away you go. Rightio, next job is I don't know what that welder's going to be set up to, you can hardly see it. I think I'll get a piece of rubbish steel and just try a tack on it and see what happens. Got a piece of tin here, it's quite thin, it'll probably blow through it, but I just want to make sure that this is going to fire up. What I normally do, obviously they're quite long, I like to cut my rods in half when I'm using them on vehicles. So let's get some pliers and just cut that straight in half. I just find it easier to work with a smaller rod. Now this electrode holder is quite a heavy duty one, which I picked up somewhere I worked a few years ago where they got new ones. It's in better days, but it still do the job. Right then, just need to get my Welding helmet so I don't get a flash or arc eye, and we'll try this out. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but this steel is really thin. That'll soon burn through, so what I'll do is just do little tacks like this, and then that'll stick it together, and that'll be okay for thin metal. Well, that works. That's the main thing. That'll do to do this little job on George. So now we need to get this clamp onto here somewhere, clean this up, and we'll put a tack on it, just enough to hold it together. Rightio, so I've achieved what I wanted to do. I've melted the washer into this. That is never going to come undone by itself. Hopefully, if I want to get it off, I can undo that nut and it will come off, but if I don't, I've always got the grinder, but I just know it's not going to fall off. It's going to do the same with this side. Just weld that washer to this bit of the bumper. I'll see if I can get a bit of video of that while I do it. So like I say, it's not going to look pretty, it's nothing special, just more of a peace of mind that it can't fall off. So I'll just do this side now. Like I say, it's just going to be a few little tacks. If I try and weld it continuous, that'll just go straight through this. Although it's not super thin, but it's enough for that to happen. Let's see how it goes. See, the good thing about this, because it's not as thin as that little piece of tin I tried to weld on, that is welding this not too bad. You can't continue to run, but you won't be able to continuously do a run. Now I could go all the way round, but it's just no point. That just means now that washer is attached to this bumper, so that can't fall off like it did before, because the washer is obviously all the way round. And nice and tight, nothing's going to fall off. Yes, that will go rusty. I might stick some black paint on it up to there, who knows. But one thing I do know, I'm going to be driving down the road worrying about the bumper. So I think I'm going to end this video here, just a short one, just to show you how I put this back on. I didn't do it the way I thought in my head I was going to do it, but quite often things don't go as you plan. And like I said, I'm not trying to please anyone, I'm not trying to tell anyone how to do it, just what I'm doing to make sure my bumper don't fall off. Thanks for watching guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.